High Noon Hot Seat is brought to you by High Noon Podcast. Check out everything we have to offer at highnoonpodcast.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the High Noon Hot Seat, brought to you by High Noon Podcast. I am your host, The Blevins. With me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much.
And joining us today is none other than Grimreality, the DPS for the LA Valiant. What's up, man?
Woo, hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. Nothing much. Just chilling.
There we go. Thanks for being on, man. I want to preface this because not all the guests we have on, I don't always have a little bit of a background, but Grim and I, we were roommates at BlizzCon. How was roommating with me? I want to get your opinions on how it was being my roommate.
You know, I didn't know exactly what to expect from it because I'd never talked to you or anything, but you're actually it was a very pleasant experience. Like, you're a very chill guy, easy to talk to. So, I mean, you're welcome for all this gas.
It doesn't sound right to me. I know Blevins in real life. We live in the same city. It doesn't seem right to me. I don't know. I feel like we'd both be impossible to room with.
No, it was great because I knocked on the door at I don't know, it was probably 11 or 12 o'clock. It might have even been later. And you answer the door and you just look like a ghost showed up, and then you saw that my corn dog hoodie, and you're like, oh, okay, you're probably not here to mug us right now.
Yeah, I felt an instant sense of relief as soon as I saw the news. It's just me reassured.
You see this big 6'3" huge bearded guy, and you're like, uh-oh, and then you see the corn dog shirt, oh, okay, he can't possibly do harm.
He's with us. He's cool.
So good. But enough about that. I mean, we could probably talk the whole episode about BlizzCon. But let's get in and get a little bit of a background on you, Grim. We always like to learn a little bit about where our guests come from. And what is your gaming origin story? What got you into gaming?
The thing that got me into gaming is just my urge to compete and win things. So first, when I was around 10 to 12, I played a lot of actual in real life sports. Which is it's pretty crazy. I only really started getting into video games at 13, and that was just because I couldn't run too well because I have some knee issues. But I still felt that urge to compete. So I started really playing video games at around 13, got my first PC, and, just instantly loaded up some League of Legends. And that was when I really first started gaming.
That's awesome. And this, I think, Death, this might be the first time that we've had a guest that has started from traditional sports.
It might be. It's also, I think, the first time anybody started with League of Legends. Blevins, they're getting younger. I didn't think it was possible, but they just keep getting younger. That's crazy.
All right. For reference, you being 13 is not that many years ago, right?
Yeah. It's not that many years ago at all. I'm only 18 now. And just for a little context, I did play a little bit of video games before League of Legends, but nothing very seriously.
Yeah.
It was mainly console. I played some Call of Duty, but we don't talk about those days really. So
I think League of Legends brought out the ultimate competitive side of just about every single human being that ever logged into it. So.
I was hooked instantly. I didn't even really understand computer games too much up until then. It was because I'd never really had a computer, so it was all just a dream of mine to play Minecraft or something, right? Which sounds it sounds weird, but
you whippersnappers these days.
But yeah, so
that's awesome. And so what kind of made you take that step into Overwatch from League of Legends from traditional sports?
Well, while I was playing League of Legends, about a year in, I started realizing what esports was. And, I really wanted to compete. I wanted to do something more than just either beat little squirts on the field in soccer or beat some noobs in ranked League of Legends, right? I wanted to actually compete against good players. It didn't take long for me to realize that I'm too young these players are too good. The scene's too developed. There's really a super slim chance of me going pro in league. So I really I was willing to jump on, you know, a lot of different boats to get where I wanted to be, to, you know, compete. And it was perfect timing for Overwatch. You know, I felt like I was a good enough age. My mentality was getting a little bit better. So it was mainly just like seeing the potential for competition in Overwatch.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, you're like the exact right age to start Overwatch League, right? Like if you were any younger, you literally couldn't play.
Yeah, exactly. Just on time. It's fantastic.
Definitely worked out for you, as maddening as it is for those of us that have been gaming for, you know, 20 years now and can come nowhere near your aim and reflex and twitch abilities. It's maddening, but we'll skip that. And I want to kind of direct the conversation a little bit here for to your time with Immortals. Obviously, you know, you've been with that roster for a long time, and you guys have had some varying successes. And unfortunately, going into the last season, or the most recent season of Contenders, you guys had a bit of a letdown and really you know, didn't pull through like you guys wanted to, and I think like people expected you to. And I'm sorry to bring it up and sorry to ask it, but can you kind of attribute something, like what do you guys, when you're talking about it, what do you attribute the disappointing results to?
I think before I say anything, there should be no like quote unquote excuses. Like we were all very talented players. We knew what we needed to do. But it just didn't work out for us. But I think what really hurt us is visa problems. A couple of our players had to go back to Korea for like, you know, 15 days, and then only came back 2 days before our first match. And you know, with that amount of time, you lost your synergy and you don't have enough time to build it back. All that. So I think it has warranty for like the first couple games maybe, but I think after a while we never got back on track. We never got our like mojo, you know. And it caused some problems, but yeah, I really don't like going to the break as an excuse. I feel like even if we took that long of a break, we could have done so much better, just because we know what we need to do. We just needed to mesh and really be a little more strict on ourselves to really pull through with our ideas.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of mentioned momentum a little bit. You know, it's something that even in traditional sports, there's people that kind of scoff at the idea that momentum is like a major factor. And I always just think to myself, like, well, you've never competed in anything in your life if you don't think momentum matters. But all right, so what have you guys done then now to try to bounce back from that? I mean, obviously you guys, it didn't hurt you too bad. You still made your way into the Overwatch League. So, you know, it's you're able to put it behind you, but how do you guys go forward from that and improve and make sure it doesn't happen again?
Well, hopefully there's no visa problem. No visa problems again. But yeah, we have all the visa stuff figured out for clarification, but you know, we've been really working hard in game and out of game. We've all been making big strides to strengthen our mentality and like really, you know, patch up the weaknesses that, you know, could come up in the future. And we've really been pushing all for, or more so for like one mindset in game. You know what I mean? Like we all have one mindset, we all have one goal, and then we all, you know, execute it. That's like what we were missing really in Contenders. And I think that's what we're going to be able to bring in Overwatch League. You know, that mentality, the strong mentality, the one mindset, and, you know, obviously the strategies to back up those values.
Yeah, so the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously you guys have had some time to work both in and out of game to get to that point. And, you know, speaking of out of game, I want to take this point in time to give a shout out to Josh Kim, former guest on the show as well. Also set up our travel accommodations at BlizzCon. So shout outs to Josh. Just had to throw that one out there. But so back in June, you guys added some Korean talent to your roster. Have there been any challenges that you faced with that addition, with the addition of new players, and those players being from different region and different culture?
Yeah, I would say at the start, it was a little challenging, mainly because before, um, how Immortals went about things when we were, all speaking fluent English is
Mm-hmm.
we would in game it may not be very efficient, but our way of going about it was like, we would talk a lot about the next game plan,
Mm-hmm.
and really, try to get it precise. Um, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But the main problem for us when they came in is we really couldn't do that. So our whole communication system was, kind of, it just couldn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, we since we don't really know them personally, we don't know how well their English really is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know the limit of, like how much advanced English I could use, if I
Mm-hmm.
could use any at all, right? So I think that kind of hurt us a little bit. Uh, but now I feel like our communication, is better than it used to be, uh, in terms of like how fast we communicate, because we're not really using advanced English in our communication. It's really
Mm-hmm.
just, it's more simplistic, uh, things that we've already been over, so everybody knows what to do. But we can just communicate a lot faster than we used to be able to.
Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense. We've talked with other uh, teams and coaches and players, and they're saying that basically we could just say very basic things and get the point across. And once it's more like you're not even really saying things uh, uh, in an auditory way. It's more like how you make actions visually in the game and whatnot. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
But enough about Immortals. Let's move on to obviously the current team, the LA Valiant, and obviously with the regionality and the city base. Blizzard has been trying to push these in a soft way, at least, the regional rivalries. And obviously, you're one of two LA teams, so there's that built-in regional rivalry. Has that affected you guys at the player level at all, or is it just something that you're kind of leaving to Twitter and letting Reddit deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little fun. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. I love the guys. But having that little extra, will and motive to win and beat
Mm-hmm.
them is always a great feeling. So I don't think it's negatively affecting,
Mm-hmm.
me or any of my players. But yeah, I get a really good kick out of it, seeing Valiant Southern orgs. So I'm loving it.
Nice.
All right, and we've kind of already touched on this a little bit, but just to make sure, the full team is in the USA now, right? Like you guys are all in LA now.
Yes, we're all in LA,
Hey,
all living in the same compound and apartments.
perfect. Have you guys begun your practice and scrim schedule yet, or is that going to kick off now that the players conference and all that stuff is done?
Yeah, we've already started scrimming. We're up and running now.
Perfect. Just kind of ad-libbing a couple questions. You guys mostly scrim just other OWL teams, or you guys go outside the OWL pool at all?
Oh yeah, we do a little bit of both. Obviously we're not going to scrim like Shock, right? But some OWL teams, we scrim some, contenders teams or something to see if some strategies would work, or,
Mm-hmm.
just to like strengthen certain aspects of our game.
Perfect. Now, we've talked a little bit about how you've had to increase the efficiency of your communication and things like that as a result of the other players kind of having this language barrier. You have a head coach now who has the same language barrier. Is there any additional challenges that you face, having the head coach be of a different nationality or a different, primary language?
Obviously, it's not going to be, as efficient as having a coach, because we have two coaches, Henry and Ooks.
Mhm.
It's going to be as efficient as Ooks speaking English himself.
Mm-hmm.
But our player's Fate, is actually very good at English, so he can relay what Ooks is saying, and then also we have translators. So you know, if Ooks wants to get in depth during VOD review, we'll always have a translator on standby, and we get all the same insight as if he would have been a native English speaker or something, right? So it hasn't really posed a very serious problem as of yet, and I really can't see it ever.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously that's great. Having the translators really helps. So you know, shout outs to the organization for making sure that that's available. Definitely must help a lot. So I'm curious now. You mentioned you have two different coaches. Does one focus more specifically on mechanics and individual aspects of the game, and then the other one on kind of macro things, or are they both kind of involved in all areas of your preparation?
Yeah. So how we kind of have it. You know, obviously they do both. They both communicate very well with each other. So it's not really roles. But the easiest for us to do is to have our English speaking coach Henry, you know, kind of help us more in like a live situation, you know, and have Ooks and Henry go, you know, more in depth with the VODs and then give us feedback together, you know. But you know, if we have a translator with us, Ooks can also help with the live stuff. And you know, even if we don't have a translator, his English isn't horrible, you know, so
right,
he's able to assist when needed.
Might take a little longer, but still possible for sure.
Gotcha. So we saw the video that Noah Winston, you know, the CEO of Immortals and LA Valiant, put out last week about having multiple different players at similar roles or similar hero pools, and he kind of said, you know, we didn't set the team up like this to have the players, you know, fight for their spot, their starting spot rather. But at the end of the day, only 6 people can start in a map. Do you have any insight as to, you know, how the team is going to be divvying up the playing time between players with similar hero pools, you know, like yourself, Soon, and Silk Thread?
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that we have similar hero pools. Similar is like kind of the key word. So you know, I'm going to be better at some heroes than Soon. Soon's going to be better at some heroes than me. So that's a very important factor, which allows us, right, in like an Overwatch League setting, if I feel like I'm playing, you know, beautifully on Widow, he can sub me in. Or if he feels like he's playing beautifully on McCree, we can sub him in. So it's really just like whatever we feel like we're playing best, you know, whoever can play that hero best. But I think the main motive and a very important factor that you have to, you know, kind of put into this is that what we're looking at a lot of the times is to see who's gonna mesh well with the team the best and who's gonna help the team succeed rather than like who's playing you know, McCree or Tracer better. Because you know, at the end of the day, Valiant isn't shooting to have like the 6 best players on one team. They're shooting to have the best team, right? 6 best players doesn't make the best team. So you know, we change it as change is needed to be seen.
Gotcha. And that makes a lot of sense, for sure.
The only thing that doesn't make sense there is you alluded that somebody might play a better McCree than you, and we here at the High Noon Podcast know a little something about McCrees. And your plays are silly on that particular hero. So before we forget to mention it, it's great to finally have the McCree Master on the McCree themed show. So
I like to throw out hypotheticals, right? Like I like to.
We use that example because it couldn't be true.
Right.
Grimreality, I'm McCree. Of course, he's the best.
Yeah, we didn't want to give away any strats, so we talked about one where you're not playing McCree. So clearly fake. But speaking of, well, that's not really a good segue. But speaking of giving away strats, your preseason match and opening day match are against San Francisco Shock, and then your other week 1 opponent is Dallas Fuel. But we'll start with the Shock. How do you feel about that matchup?
I'm feeling pretty confident. I think that we've made like long and healthy strides to, become a better team. I think our mentality is getting stronger day by day. So I'm feeling pretty confident against Shock. I think that our roster is more diverse, which could potentially give us an upper hand, uh, and hopefully let us win the match.
Gotcha. And then obviously the big former envious team, the Dallas Fuel, is your other week one matchup. Have you done any specific? Obviously, you want to. It's a little ways away for that, but do you have any plans to do any specific, like watching VODs or doing specific plans against Fuel, or is it just going to kind of be like, okay, we're just going to refine our game and go at it?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I think it's standard for teams to study their opponent, especially right before they're about to play them. So that's a definite yes. Um, and honestly, I think we know a lot of what we need to know. I think we understand their strengths and weaknesses. I think I think we're getting a good understanding of how to, consistently use our strengths to punish their weaknesses. And that's really what you're looking for in a head-to-head battle. So yeah, I'm once again also feeling pretty confident going up against them.
I like it. Definitely. I mean, I'm not going to root against any team that has you playing McCree on it. So if you can work that in, you've got my vote. Also, I know Deathblow is contractually obligated to root against the Fuel since he's an Outlaws fan, so he's gonna be rooting for you as well.
And the Fuel fans are a little too numerous in our Discord right now. So if you could do me a favor and just take them down a peg or two, that would just be phenomenal. It would really help me a lot. I would appreciate it.
I got you, man. Don't worry about it. I got
you. So obviously you guys have your own campus for practicing, but also there's the Blizzard Arena. How are you guys splitting up the time between your own in-house practice facility and the Blizzard Arena?
We're actually only practicing at the compound.
At your LA Valiant compound.
Yeah, because we're a little too far to like practically, commute over there and practice. But yeah, I mean, it's really not that bad. Like the compound is beautiful. It's really nice to be surrounded by other Immortals teams, and Immortals staff feels very secure. And the internet is great. The internet is it's great. Oh
awesome.
My.
Yeah, I can only imagine what a pro gaming compound's internet looks like. I just
at least a little better than Comcast, I think it's safe to say.
I don't want to imagine the electricity bill at the esports compound. I really don't want to.
It's just a bunch of like teams that they beat underground, just like running on treadmills all day.
Yeah. Like, every time we beat them, they have to stay down there for a day or two. Power.
Well, to kind of pick things up here a little bit, Grim, we're curious if there's been a player on the team, maybe a new player that's been added or somebody from, the original Immortals roster that you guys carried over. Has there been anybody that's really emerged as a team leader and kind of taken on more of a captain's role?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I think we've all stepped up in, maturity and initiative. So I'm pretty proud of my team for that. But I would say that if there was one player that has really taken on a good amount for his role and for his role on the team just in general, it's probably Fate. I think he's doing a lot to help construct this team in a better manner, and he's you can just tell that he's giving it his 110%. So shout outs.
I really wanted to hear you say it was you. Like, be like, yeah, this guy's really been doing great, really stepped up, and it's Grimreality. It's me.
I can't inflame my ego that much. Okay, you already complimented my McCree enough. Okay, I gotta humble myself down a little bit.
Well, for what it's worth, my money was on Verbo, but you know, obviously it's good to hear that some of the other guys, especially the guys on the other side of the language barrier, you know, you've talked about all the tools you have to help break that down, but it's got to be great to see them kind of able to do that through the challenges. So I definitely you know, definitely love that answer for sure. Now, let's take a moment and look kind of outside your roster a little bit, okay? And look at some of the other teams. And you have to have some relationships. I mean, you guys have done all these pro pugs recently. You've been playing with them, but anybody in particular stand out as somebody that's going to surprise the general public once the league kicks off? Somebody that's not on our radar right now as a top player that you think should be?
I actually really don't even have to think about this. It's going to be Striker. I think everybody needs to have an eye out for my boy. I think just in scrims, from what I've seen, VODs, all that, like, I think he is a talented player, and I think he has a lot of potential. And putting potential to the side, like, he's just good now. So definitely I expect some pretty sick stuff from him, you know?
Gotcha. All right. Well, the Boston Uprising fans can come out of the woodworks and claim their team now, because we've got a little hype building up for them. That's good to see. Now, as far as teams go in particular, is there anyone, again, outside the LA Valiant that might be the biggest surprise this season? Anybody you're really keeping an eye on?
Honestly, I'm gonna have to go back to Boston. I think they're pretty good right now. They're not half bad, if I'm being honest here. Obviously they still have stuff to work on, so do we, so do all the other teams, but I think they're looking pretty sharp.
I thought we were going to be friends, Grim. I thought, you know,
I gotta say it how it is, no bias.
I respect that. But I hate the answer. I carry over from football a very serious hatred for Boston. And it's, the owner being the same doesn't help either. So that's I'm definitely biased on that one. But we'll let you give your plug to them, and I will begrudgingly let Blevins move the conversation in a new direction.
Okay,
Don't worry, we'll beat them. Don't worry.
Okay, good. That's all I ask. You know, that they lose every game.
I also, as a primary XL fan, I have to root against Boston as well. So, but okay. So last thing on Valiant. So this is kind of a loaded question, but we've been asking people this, and our you know, High Noon Podcast fans, as well as the greater Overwatch League fans, want to know, why should they be a fan of LA Valiant?
You know, I think that people should be a fan of LA Valiant just because of our, you know, our goals and our mentality. Our goal is to win, but, like, most importantly, learn. And, you know, that is a pretty difficult question. Yeah, I think, yeah, we all have pretty good players. They're all pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this question private.
It's a very difficult question.
It is.
So we'll save you gave a very good answer already.
Yeah.
You know, just your guys' mindset. You know, like you said earlier, it's something that caught my attention. You know, if you guys are all in the same, you know, the same wavelength, and you all have the same goal and you're laser focused, I think that's an absolute must for success in the Overwatch League, and I think that's a phenomenal reason. So we'll help you out a little bit there, for sure.
Yeah, it's hard for me to tell other people why they should like me. Like
you bristled when we called you
like
a very good McCree, which should be plain, you know, obvious to everybody on the planet that you're a phenomenal McCree, and you bristled at it. So it's a very tough question for some people to answer, for sure.
Like heads excellently. I'm very, very talented at clicking heads.
You're too humble. You're too humble. Okay, so we're just gonna do a couple of quick general Overwatch questions. These ones can be, kind of a lightning round or quicker ones. But obviously, you just finished up with the players, the very first inaugural season Players Summit, and I know. Just to preface this for the fans, I know that a lot of that stuff was NDA and you can't talk about specifics, so don't worry about that. But were there any like overarching topics or things that were maybe interesting to you as a player in that Player Summit?
There were none that I can really give out.
Mm-hmm.
I really just found I just found the concept of being there
Mm-hmm.
very interesting personally. It was really like an eye-opening experience to see all of this actually like coming together and it becoming a reality. That was very enjoyable for me.
Mm-hmm.
Had to really set the stage. Like, it's real, it's happening. Like, everybody's in this room right now. It's going down.
Yeah. What
Exactly.
was it like being in the room with quite possibly and arguably the best Overwatch player, all of the best Overwatch players in the world, like in one room? What was that experience like?
It was crazy. Just while they were, talking, laying down everything that we should know, just looking around you, there's just, you're touching shoulders with some of the best Overwatch players, some of the people that you see on Twitch, playing in Apex, all different types of tourneys coming from everywhere. It feels really weird. Like I saw Miro in real life. That was just like a really weird experience for me. Like even I've watched a lot of VODs on Lunatic High. Like I've seen a lot of his gameplay, but got a little starstruck. I'm not gonna lie when I saw him in real life. Like it was a little bit overwhelming, but I had a great time. I met a lot of people. I talked to a lot of people, and yeah, it was a fantastic time.
I can only imagine how crazy of an experience that was.
Yeah, you're welcome to comment on it, but I kind of envision that thing being like a lot like the rookie combine is, or not, combine's the wrong word, but the rookie introductory meetings that they do in the NFL. Yeah, like where they they talk about like, okay, you're about to sign like huge contracts, so don't blow all your money on the stupidest stuff possible, like all that those kind of things, like kind of teaching people a little bit of what it takes to be a professional player, and kind of setting that standard and setting that bar that you guys all have to live by now. So definitely great to I love that they're doing that, period, let alone that it seems to have gone over so well, and everybody seemed to have a good time with it. That's obviously great as well. So a couple things that are kind of current news a little bit. We've got the Blizzard World Map on the PTR, and I'm sure you're more focused on the maps that will be in the pool for Overwatch League, but have you gotten a chance to play Blizzard World at all? Any thoughts on the new map?
I haven't been able to play it yet. I've just been very busy with like Player Summit and focusing on trying to improve as a team. But I've seen a little bit of gameplay on it, and it's definitely a pretty interesting map idea. I really like the concept of it.
Cool. Well, one more question here about a similar, kind of in the same vein. This one you'll have a little more experience with, and you can answer it in one of two ways. You can be very specific and give us the exact meta comps that you will use with Moira, or you can just give us a general thoughts and feelings on the hero, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, I think she's pretty strong, but I don't think she's as strong as a lot of people think. Like I think that she can get punished pretty hard, and there are other picks. The best places for Miura is more in like close combat areas, and certain maps where D.Va isn't going to be in play, because what a lot of people don't realize is that she actually gets destroyed by D.Va.
It's really bad. It's really dumb.
It's so easy for D.Va to just tap right click just one time and her whole ability is gone. Like it's way too like so like maps like King's Row, running like a Moira Mercy sort of comp with like Ryan Zarya, that's a pretty solid comp. You have a lot of heals, a lot of damage. Moira can self-sustain and get out if they even do have dive. So I think that I don't want to give too many specifics away because you never know who's listening, but I think that's a good idea or a good general idea of Mira. You wanna play her on maps that usually D.Va isn't at play and more sort of close combat areas.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said it because it kind of mirrors what my analysis from scrims, and I'm not on the same level scrims as you, although one of our Twitch chat people wants me to bring up that I did actually get to scrim at a high enough level that one of your teammates subbed for my opponent. So I got to beat up Numlocked for a couple hours and really get that boost to my self-esteem. But yeah, and I may or may not have jiffed me 1v1ing him with a mercy pistol, but
I mean, did you post and tag? That's important. You have to post it on Twitter and tag him in it. So you gotta add.
I will do that after this, and I will tag both of you in it. So that way I can make sure that you get to see it as well. But yeah, it's funny because when D.Va's not there and I'm playing Moira, I have like silver damage medals and like we're just rolling and I just feel like the best player on the planet. Like in that game, like you feel so powerful. And then the D.Va comes in and you're like, man, I generated like 3 fewer ultimates this round than I did last round. Like it's a crazy, stark difference between when D.Va's on the other team and when she's not. And we do have one more question here. From Grandmaster Glitch, one of our Discord members. Do you have any thoughts on the current ladder system? There's been a lot of conversation about how flawed it is right now, how kind of unfun it is for a lot of people at the moment, and maybe any ideas on how they might fix it?
Yeah, I do. I think that, and obviously, the opinions on how to fix it can go a lot of different ways. These are just like personal opinions. But I think one of the better ways to actually fix comp would just to have like an MMR reset for one of these seasons. Because a huge problem that we're facing with is a lot of the SR and MMR is transferring over to the next season, and it's so transferable to the point where like you're almost the same rank as you were last season, right? So when I talk about this, I like to kind of look at League in a sense. Even if we don't do a full MMR reset, I feel like there should be a cap on how much SR you can gain from your previous seasons, and a cap on how much your previous MMR will help you at least in the beginning of the season. So how League does it, right? As everyone knows, once you finish your placements. It's been a while. I believe the max rank you can get is Platinum 1, right? Or Platinum 5, something like that, right? Either way, after you get that, you actually have to climb, right? You don't just earn it immediately. And the reason I think why that's one of like the better ways to do it is because if the player has to start low and then work his way to the top, it's just going to give him more incentive throughout the season to actually try, right? Because if I start in silver or something in Overwatch, I'm not saying that is the rank that you should, that should be the cap, obviously, and I have to work all the way up to Grandmaster or top 500, it's going to give me more incentive to keep it throughout the season because I worked hard for it and I earned it, rather than just playing my placements and immediately getting it. It drops down a lot of the reward you feel from actually climbing, and it's just a lot easier. That's my main input on how to mainly fix matchmaking. I think that also I'm slowly starting to realize like how much influence like I and others have on competitive, and I think that the community as a whole needs to just start taking comp more seriously, stop one tricking as much, and really maybe not even being positive, just trying to win and at least being neutral. I think that's the first step. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or one of the first steps in making comp just a better overall environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting insight because I love the fact that I get to kind of carry over my S, but that's just because I hate playing comp right now and I don't want to do it. So like, it's just great for me to
Right,
like,
it's
oh,
just
good, I'm
chicken
here.
and
I
egg.
can just let it decay and then leave again. Like I can just do my 10 for the season and be done. But yeah, it would definitely force me to keep playing more for sure.
Yeah. And coming up on the end, just this last one, are there any players who aren't an owl right now that we should be on the lookout for season 2? Anyone that comes to mind?
I think obviously AKM, right?
Mhm.
He's like just an unbelievably talented player, that deserves an Overwatch League position.
Mhm.
Uh, it's a little crazy that he's not in it right now. So yeah, I am pretty positive that we'll be seeing him in the future. Uh,
Mhm.
as long as he keeps that motivation up, hopefully he does because he's a very talented player. I think that he'll find a spot in Overwatch. Um, yeah, that's my main player, I'd say.
For sure. I mean, I think that's the one that's on most people's minds.
Yeah, it was in our number one pick when we like fantasy drafted the
Yep.
remaining talent to create teams for sure. He's an obvious exclusion that needs to be mentioned, and I personally think whenever the roster signing period opens up mid-season, we'll see him find a home during season 1, or at least that's my hope. But the poor guy, watching his Twitter account while you guys were all at that Players Summit was brutal. I felt
Yeah,
so bad for him.
it was rough. It was rough.
I can't even imagine how he felt. So shout outs to AKM. Can't wait to see an Overwatch League, man. Keep it, keep working at it for sure.
Yeah. But I think that's all we've got for you, man. Death, is there any last second ones that you had come to mind?
No, just one thing we forgot to do at the beginning that I want to make sure we don't forget to do before he leaves. But other than that, big thank you for joining us, Grim. I will forgive you for saying positive things about Boston. As long as you might be open to coming back and joining us after you guys win a championship or before the playoffs, or we'll see how the season goes. But we definitely love to have you back.
Mm-hmm. Hey, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Really appreciate it. So the floor is now yours. Is there any shout outs or anything that you wanna throw out there?
Yeah, I just like to shout out everybody who's supporting us. It really means a lot, especially while we're coming up, we're strengthening our roster. It feels really good to see fan art on social media. People with Valiant in their name on Reddit, on Twitter, all that stuff. Just gives me and the team like strength and motivation and that much more motive to just improve as individuals and players. So I really appreciate all you guys out there showing love, and I want you to know that we love you back.
For sure. And in that vein, we've got a couple of people in chat in here that have been big fans. Shop Smart Shop said that you probably have the flyest hair in Overwatch League.
He also wants to know your jersey number. Can you give us that tidbit or no?
My jersey number is 0.
0. Big Goose is jealous.
That was a thing.
Big Goose is jealous.
That was an ambitious shot right there. To get the 0. I was very satisfied and happy that I got that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, thank you, Shop. Love you, dude. Thank you for the compliment. I'd like to point that out real quick.
There you go. You come in for the live show. You sometimes get a little bit of interaction, but that is going to wrap it up, guys. So Grim, again, thank you so much for being on the High Noon Hot Seat. You have survived, although you've already survived the real hot seat, which was being my roommate at BlizzCon, and also surviving that disgustingly cheesed pizza that you ate at 2 in the morning. I don't know. It was like liquid.
Oh, so good. I hadn't eaten that day. I didn't eat that day. So oh my God, this is the best pizza I've ever had. I'm telling you. Fantastic.
It was bold to order chain store pizza, when you were rooming with a guy from Buffalo. It's not well known, but there's New York style pizza, there's Chicago style pizza, and then Buffalo claims its own style pizza. And we're almost as emphatic about it as the other two big ones. So
yeah, it was. I just remember seeing you eating it, and I almost got sick to my stomach. But I'll take your word for it that it was delicious. And okay, we're actually done now. I'll let you go, Grim. Again, thank you so much for being on. And guys, Grim, before we go, where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Twitter at GrimrealityOW.
So guys, go. There you go. So go follow Grim there. Go follow the Valiant on Twitter as well. You can find all of our links over at highnoonpodcast.com. That's going to be it for Grimreality and for Deathblow. I am the Blevins. And remember, guys, it's high noon.